Imagine this. A young guy, cocky and full of himself, laughing loud enough to turn heads at an old veteran leaning on his cane. The kind of laugh that makes your stomach twist because it's just so wrong. And then, out of nowhere, his grandpa steps in. And trust me, what happens next is gonna leave you speechless. You're probably wondering right now, what's the deal with this kid? Why is he picking on a veteran? And what's grandpa gonna do about it? Well, you're in the right place because I'm gonna walk you through every heart-pounding, eye-opening moment of this story, and by the end, you're gonna feel like you were right there when it all went down. So grab your snacks, hit that like button, and stick with me. You're not gonna want to miss a single second of this. This isn't just another YouTube video. It's a roller coaster of emotions, a clash of generations, and a lesson in respect that's gonna stick with you long after the screen goes dark. Let's dive in because this story is about you, me, and the kind of human connection that makes us all stop and think. Picture a small-town diner in the heart of America, the kind of place where the coffee's always brewing, the jukebox plays old country tunes, and everybody knows everybody. It's a sunny afternoon, the kind that makes you feel like nothing could go wrong. Families are crammed into booths, kids are giggling over milkshakes, and the smell of burgers sizzling on the grill fills the air. But in one corner, there's a man who stands out, not because he's loud or flashy, but because of the quiet weight he carries. His name's Tom, a veteran who's seen more than most of us could ever imagine. He's in his late 70s, with a face etched with lines that tell stories of sacrifice, loss, and pride. He moves slowly, leaning on a cane that's as much a badge of honor as it is a necessity. Every step he takes is deliberate, like he's carrying the memory of every battle he fought for this country. You can feel the respect in a room when he walks in. The regulars nod, the waitress smiles a little warmer, and even the kids seem to hush for a moment. Tom's not here for attention. He just wants his usual cup of black coffee and a slice of pie. But today, something's about to disrupt that peace, and it's gonna come from the last place anyone expects. You're probably already feeling it, aren't you? That little spark of curiosity, that need to know what's coming. Hold on to it because this is where things start to get real. Now, let's shift gears to the other side of the diner, where a group of teenagers is sprawled across a booth, their phones out, their laughter bouncing off the walls. At the center of it all is Jake, a 19-year-old with a smirk that says he thinks he's untouchable. Jake's the kind of guy who's always got something to prove. Maybe it's the pressure of living in a small town where everyone's watching, or maybe it's just the way he's wired. He's loud, he's brash, and today he's in a mood. You know the type, the kid who thinks respect is something you earn only if you're young, strong, or popular. To Jake, Tom's just an old man with a cane, someone who doesn't fit into his world of TikTok trends and viral challenges. And that's where it starts, the moment Jake's eyes lock onto Tom shuffling toward a table. You can almost see the gears turning in Jake's head, the way his smirk widens as he nudges his friends. He doesn't know Tom's story, doesn't care about the medals tucked away in a drawer at home, or the nights Tom still wakes up sweating from memories of war. All Jake sees is a chance to get a laugh, to be the center of attention. And that's when it happens. Jake lets out a loud, mocking chuckle, pointing at Tom's cane like it's some kind of joke. The diner goes quiet. You can feel the tension, like the air's been sucked out of the room. You're probably wondering, how could someone be so heartless? What's Jake thinking? And more importantly, what's gonna happen next? I'm telling you, stick with me because this moment is just the beginning, and it's about to get a whole lot more intense. Let's talk about you for a second. Yeah, you, watching this video right now. Maybe you've seen something like this in your own life. Someone being disrespected, someone crossing a line they shouldn't have. Maybe it made your blood boil, or maybe it left you wondering why people act the way they do. That's why this story matters. It's not just about Jake or Tom. It's about all of us. It's about the choices we make, the way we treat each other, and the moments that define who we are. When you clicked on this video, you were looking for something real, something that'd make you feel connected, maybe even challenge the way you see the world. And I'm promising you right now, you're gonna get that. This story is gonna take you through every emotion, anger, sadness, hope, and maybe even a little pride. You're gonna meet characters who feel like people you know, and you're gonna walk away with something to think about. But to get there, you've got to stay with me, because the real heart of this story is still coming. You're not just a viewer. You're part of this journey, and I'm talking directly to you. Don't hit that back button. Don't skip ahead. Trust me, you're gonna want to see how this plays out. Let's keep going, because there's someone else in this diner who's about to change everything. Enter Grandpa Joe. He's been sitting quietly at a table near the back, sipping his iced tea and watching the world go by. Joe's in his early 80s, with a shock of white hair and a twinkle in his eye that says he's seen it all, and then some. To most people, he's just Jake's grandpa, the guy who shows up at family barbecues with stories that make everyone laugh. But there's more to Joe than meets the eye. He's got a past that's shaped him in ways Jake could never understand, at least not yet. Joe's not just any grandpa. He's a man who's lived through wars, recessions, and more heartbreak than most. He's the kind of person who doesn't raise his voice unless he has to, but when he does, you listen. Right now, he's watching his grandson with a mix of disappointment and determination. You can see it in the way his hands tighten around his glass, the way his jaw sets as Jake's laughter cuts through the diner. Joe knows Tom, not personally, but in the way that veterans know each other, a silent bond forged by shared sacrifice. And Joe's not about to let this moment slide. You're probably feeling that anticipation building, right? That sense that something big is about to happen. You're not wrong. Joe's about to step into this story in a way that's going to flip everything upside down, and it's going to make you rethink everything you thought you knew about Jake, about Tom, and about what respect really means. Let's set the stage a little more, because this isn't just a story about a single moment. It's about the clash of generations, the weight of history, and the power of standing up for what's right. In that diner, you've got Tom, representing a generation that fought for freedom, that built the world we live in today. You've got Jake, caught up in a world of instant gratification, where likes and followers sometimes matter more than kindness. And then you've got Joe, the bridge between them, a man who's seen both sides and knows what's at stake. This story's going to dig into themes that hit home for all of us: respect, redemption, and the way our actions ripple out to touch everyone around us. It's the kind of story that makes you laugh, makes you cry, and makes you think about the people in your own life. You're probably already invested, aren't you? I can feel it. You're wondering how Joe's going to handle this, what he's going to say to Jake, and whether Jake's even capable of learning his lesson. I'm not going to spoil it yet, but I will tell you this. What happens next is going to be raw, real, and unforgettable. You're going to see a side of humanity that doesn't always make it onto YouTube, but when it does, it's the kind of thing that goes viral for all the right reasons. Now, I know you're curious. You're sitting there, maybe with your phone in one hand and a snack in the other, thinking, okay, what's the big twist? What's Grandpa Joe gonna do? And I love that you're hooked, because that's exactly where I want you. This story's got layers, and we're only scratching the surface. I could tell you right now what Joe does, but that'd be like giving you the last page of a book before you've even started reading. Instead, I'm gonna ask you to trust me. Stay with this video, because every minute is building towards something that's gonna make your heart race and your eyes widen. You're not just watching a story, you're living it with me, with Tom, with Jake, and with Joe. You're part of this moment, and I'm talking to you like you're right here in the diner with us. Can you feel the tension? Can you hear the hush that's fallen over the room? Everyone's watching now, waiting to see what happens. Joe's starting to stand up, his chair scraping against the floor, and Jake's still laughing, oblivious to the storm that's about to break. What's Joe gonna say? Is he gonna yell? Is he gonna stay calm? Or is he gonna do something so unexpected that it changes everything? You're gonna find out, but only if you keep watching. Right now, at this very moment, the story's hanging on a knife's edge, and the next move is gonna blow your mind. The air in the diner feels thicker now, like the whole room is holding its breath as Grandpa Joe's chair scrapes against the linoleum floor, a slow, deliberate sound that cuts through Jake's mocking laughter. You can almost feel the weight of every eye turning toward Joe, waiting for what's next, but let's pause right there, because to understand why this moment is so charged, why Jake's acting like he's untouchable, and why Joe's about to do something that'll leave everyone stunned, we need to rewind a little. Let's dig into Jake's world, peel back the layers of who he is, and explore the events that led him to this diner, to this exact moment where he's crossed a line most people wouldn't dare touch. You're probably itching to know what Joe's about to do, and I promise we're getting there, but trust me, knowing what's been going on with Jake will make what's coming hit even harder. This isn't just about a single laugh or a single veteran. It's about a kid who's been spiraling, a family on edge, and a town full of secrets that are starting to bubble up. So, stick with me, because the deeper we go, the more you're going to realize that nothing in this story is as simple as it seems, and every detail is a clue to the mystery we're unraveling together. Jake's life hasn't always been about loud laughs and bad decisions, but lately, something's shifted. He's 19, just out of high school, and stuck in that weird in-between where you're not quite a kid, but definitely not an adult. In a small town like this, where the biggest excitement is the Friday night football game or the annual county fair, Jake's been feeling caged. You know how it is when you're young, full of energy, and the world feels too small for your dreams. Jake's got big plans, or at least he thinks he does. He's been talking nonstop about moving to the city, chasing some vague idea of fame, maybe as a content creator or a musician, though he's never stuck with anything long enough to prove it. His Instagram's full of carefully posed photos, his TikTok's got a few viral moments from dumb stunts, and he's obsessed with blowing up online. But here's the thing. That hunger for attention has been pushing him to take risks, to do things that get people talking, even if it's for the wrong reasons. Over the past few months, Jake's been hanging with a new crowd, guys like Mike and Tyler, who are always egging him on, daring him to push boundaries. They're the ones in the diner booth with him now, snickering as he mocks Tom's cane, and you can't help but wonder, is Jake acting out because of them? Are they the ones pulling the strings? Or is Jake the ringleader? The way Mike's leaning back, smirking like he's untouchable, makes you question if he's got something to do with Jake's attitude. But then there's Tyler, quieter, watching the room like he's nervous. Something's off, and you're starting to feel it, aren't you? That nagging sense that there's more to this group than meets the eye. Then there's Jake's family, and that's where things get even messier. Jake's always been close to his mom, Sarah, a single parent who's worked double shifts at the local hospital to keep them afloat. She's the kind of mom who'd do anything for her kid, but lately, she's been worried sick. You see, Jake's been pulling away, staying out late, dodging her calls, and when they do talk, it's tense. Sarah's noticed the change, how Jake's gotten sharper, more defensive, like he's carrying a chip on his shoulder. She's even caught him lying about where he's been, saying he's at a friend's house when he's really out with Mike and Tyler, doing God knows what. A few weeks ago, there was an incident at the town's community center, a broken window and some graffiti that had the locals buzzing. No one could prove it was Jake, but the rumors swirled, and Sarah's been terrified he's headed down a bad path. You're probably wondering, is this just a phase, or is Jake caught up in something bigger? Could the vandalism be a red herring, or is it a sign of something darker? And what about Grandpa Joe? He's been Jake's rock, the one person Jake always listened to, but even that relationship's been strained. Joe's been trying to get through to him, inviting him over for fishing trips or to work on the old Chevy in the garage, but Jake's been blowing him off, saying he's busy. Busy with what, though? That's the question that's starting to gnaw at you, because the more you learn about Jake, the less you're sure about what's driving him to act this way. Now, let's talk about the town itself. Because it's not just Jake's story, it's the backdrop that's shaping everything. This isn't some big city where you can blend into the crowd. It's a place where everyone's got a history and grudges linger like summer heat. Lately, there's been tension bubbling under the surface. The younger crowd, Jake's generation, feels like the town's stuck in the past, with its traditions and its reverence for folks like Tom, the veteran. There's been talk about shaking things up, petitions to replace the old war memorial with a skate park, arguments at town hall about moving forward. Jake's been vocal about it, posting rants online about how the town's obsessed with old people and needs to get with the times. It's earned him some followers, but it's also pissed off a lot of folks, especially the older generation who see guys like Tom as heroes. Could Jake's laugh in the diner be part of this bigger rebellion? Is he trying to make a statement, or is it just a thoughtless jab? And here's where it gets trickier. There's a guy named Carl, a local mechanic in his 30s, who's been stirring the pot. Carl's got a reputation for being a hothead, and he's been hanging around Jake's crew, acting like a mentor of sorts. Some say Carl's the one pushing Jake to act out, maybe even using him to settle old scores with the town's elders. But then there's Lisa, the diner's assistant manager, who's been watching Jake closely, her eyes narrowing every time he walks in. She's got her own history with Jake's family, something about a falling out with Sarah years ago, and you can't help but wonder if she's got a stake in this too. The web's getting tangled, and you're starting to see it. Everyone's got a motive, everyone's got a secret, and Jake's laugh might just be the spark that sets it all off. As we circle back to the diner, with Joe now halfway to his feet, you can feel the stakes climbing higher. Jake's not just a kid being a jerk, he's a kid caught in a storm of his own making, surrounded by influences that might be pushing him toward this moment. Is it Mike and Tyler, egging him on for clout? Is it Carl, whispering in his ear about sticking it to the old guard? Or is it something deeper, something inside Jake that's been building for months, maybe years? And what about Tom, sitting there with his cane, his face unreadable? Does he know more than he's letting on? The way he's holding himself, steady despite the humiliation, makes you wonder if he's seen this kind of thing before, if he's got his own reasons for being in this diner today. You're hooked now, aren't you? You're leaning in, trying to piece it together because every detail feels like it's leading somewhere massive. Joe's about to speak, his eyes locked on Jake, and the whole diner's frozen, waiting for the words that'll either break this moment apart or make it explode. But what's he gonna say? Is he gonna call Jake out in front of everyone, or is he gonna do something so unexpected it'll change the game entirely? You're not gonna believe what's coming, but you've got to keep watching because the truth is closer than you think, and it's gonna hit like a freight train. The diner's frozen in that heart-stopping moment, with Grandpa Joe now fully standing, his weathered hands gripping the edge of the table as his eyes bore into Jake, who's still chuckling, oblivious to the storm he's unleashed. The tension's so thick you could cut it with a knife, and you're probably on the edge of your seat, wondering what Joe's about to say, how Jake's gonna react, and whether Tom, the veteran, will finally break his stoic silence. But just as the story seems ready to explode, things are about to get messy, because the truth behind Jake's behavior, and the bigger mystery of why this moment feels so charged, is slipping further out of reach. You're diving deeper into this with me, right? You can feel the pull of this small-town drama, the kind of story that hooks you because it's raw, real, and full of twists you didn't see coming. Let's keep going, because unexpected obstacles are piling up, secrets are surfacing, and a betrayal from years ago is about to cast a shadow over everything. Stick with me, because the more we uncover, the more you're going to realize that nobody in this diner is exactly who they seem, and the truth is a lot harder to pin down than anyone thought. As Joe opens his mouth to speak, a loud crash echoes from the diner's kitchen, shattering the silence like a thunderclap. Plates clatter, someone yells, and every head in the room snaps toward the sound. For a split second, the focus shifts. Jake's laughter dies out. Tom's gaze flicks toward the kitchen, and Joe pauses, his words caught in his throat. It's chaos, and it's perfect timing, almost too perfect. The waitress, Lisa, bolts toward the kitchen, muttering something about a clumsy cook, but there's a look in her eyes that doesn't quite add up, like she's relieved for the distraction. You're probably thinking, was that crash an accident, or did someone make it happen to stop this moment from boiling over? It's a question that lingers as the diner settles back into an uneasy hum, but the interruption has done its damage. Joe sits back down, his face a mix of frustration and calculation, like he's weighing whether to push forward or wait. Jake, meanwhile, seizes the chance to double down, leaning toward his friends and whispering something that makes Mike smirk and Tyler shift uncomfortably. Whatever momentum was building toward a confrontation has been derailed, and you can't help but feel like something, or someone, just bought Jake a little more time. But time for what? That's where things start to get murky, because the deeper we dig into Jake's world, the more obstacles keep popping up, blocking the path to understanding why he's acting this way, and what's really at stake in this diner today. Let's talk about Jake's phone, because it's become a kind of black box in the story, a digital vault that might hold the answers to his behavior. Over the past week, Jake's been glued to it more than usual, even for a kid who lives for likes and notifications. His mom, Sarah, noticed it, how he'd hunch over the screen late at night, his thumbs flying, his face lit up by the glow in a way that made her uneasy. She'd asked him about it, but he'd brushed her off, saying it was just group chat stuff with Mike and Tyler. But yesterday, something strange happened. Sarah found Jake's phone on the kitchen counter, buzzing with a new message, and before she could stop herself, she glanced at the screen. It was a text from an unknown number, no name attached, just a single line. Delete it. Now. Her heart sank, but when she tried to unlock the phone to see more, the message vanished, like it had never been there. Jake snatched the phone back before she could ask, his face pale, his usual bravado replaced by something that looked a lot like fear. You're probably wondering, what was that message about? What's Jake hiding? And why is he so spooked? Sarah's been replaying that moment ever since, and it's eating at her, especially now, as she hears from a neighbor that Jake's in the diner, causing a scene. The missing message is a key piece of evidence, but it's gone, swallowed up by whatever Jake's tangled up in, and it's making it harder for anyone to figure out what's driving him to act so recklessly. Could it be tied to the vandalism at the community center? To Carl, the mechanic who's been hovering around Jake's crew? Or is it something even darker, something that's been brewing for longer than anyone realizes? Now, let's pull back the curtain on a secret from the past, because this town's got a history that's starting to creep into the present. Years ago, back when Jake was just a kid, there was a scandal that rocked the community, one that people still whisper about but never fully explain. It involved Joe, Jake's grandpa, and a man named Daniel, who used to be a close friend of the family. Daniel was a charismatic guy, a veteran like Tom, but younger, with a chip on his shoulder and a knack for stirring up trouble. He and Joe worked together on a project to restore the town's war memorial, a big deal that brought the whole community together. But something went wrong. Money went missing, accusations flew, and Daniel ended up leaving town in disgrace, swearing he'd been betrayed. The details are fuzzy, but the fallout was brutal. Joe's reputation took a hit, Sarah and Daniel's friendship collapsed, and the town split into factions, some siding with Joe, others with Daniel. Jake was too young to understand, but he grew up hearing bits and pieces, enough to know there's bad blood. Here's where it gets interesting. Carl, the mechanic who's been cozying up to Jake, was Daniel's nephew, and word around town is he's never forgiven Joe for what happened. Could Carl be using Jake to get back at Joe, feeding him ideas, pushing him to disrespect veterans like Tom as a way to reopen old wounds? It's a chilling thought, and it makes you question Carl's role in all this. But then there's Lisa, the diner's assistant manager, who's been acting cagey, her eyes darting to Jake's table every chance she gets. She was close to Daniel back in the day, closer than most people knew, and some say she's still bitter about how things went down. Is she just watching Jake, or is she involved in whatever's making him act out? The past is starting to feel like a ghost in this story, haunting every move, and you can't shake the feeling that it's tied to that crash in the kitchen, to the missing message, to everything. As if things weren't complicated enough, a new obstacle drops into the mix, and it's a big one. Right after the kitchen crash, Tyler, the quiet one in Jake's crew, pulls Jake aside, his face tight with worry. They step outside for a moment, thinking no one's watching, but Sarah's friend, who's sitting by the window, overhears a snippet of their conversation. Tyler's voice is low, urgent, saying something about keeping it quiet and not letting Joe find out. Jake snaps back, telling Tyler to chill, but there's a crack in his usual confidence, like he's not as in control as he wants to be. When they come back inside, Tyler's barely meeting anyone's eyes, and Jake's trying too hard to act normal, laughing a little louder, gesturing a little bigger. You're probably screaming inside, right? What's Tyler warning Jake about? Is it connected to the text Sarah saw? To Carl? To the old scandal with Daniel? And why's Tyler so nervous about Joe? It's another roadblock, another piece of the puzzle that's just out of reach, and it's driving you crazy because you want answers, but every step forward seems to pull the truth further away. Sarah's friend tries to tell Joe what she heard, but before she can, Lisa swoops in. asking if she needs a refill, her smile tight and her timing once again suspiciously perfect. It's starting to feel like someone or something is working hard to keep this story buried, and Jake's right in the middle of it, either as a pawn or a player. Back in the diner, the tension's climbing again, but it's different now, laced with a new kind of unease. Joe's watching Jake, his expression unreadable, like he's piecing something together. Tom's still at his table, his coffee untouched, his cane resting against his chair, but there's a flicker in his eyes, like he's not just a bystander anymore. And Jake? He's trying to keep up his tough guy act, but you can see it. The way his hands fidget, the way he glances at Tyler, then at the door, like he's half expecting someone to walk in. You're hooked deeper now, aren't you? You can feel the weight of this moment, the way every detail is pulling you in, making you question who's pulling the strings and what they're trying to hide. And then, just as Joe starts to stand again, ready to finally say what's been building, the diner's door swings open, and a man steps inside. He's older, grizzled, with a face that's familiar to some but not all. Whispers ripple through the room, and Lisa freezes, her tray nearly slipping from her hands. You don't know who he is yet, but the way Jake's face drains of color tells you everything. This guy's arrival just changed the game, and whatever truth we were inching toward, it's about to get a whole lot harder to find. The diner door creaks shut behind the grizzled newcomer, and the room feels like it's been plunged into a different kind of silence, not just tense, but electric, as if everyone's suddenly aware that the story they thought they were in has shifted into something far more dangerous. Jake's face is pale, his usual swagger crumbling as he stares at the man, whose weathered features and heavy boots seem to carry the weight of years spent away from this town. Lisa's tray wobbles in her hands, her eyes darting between the stranger and Jake, while Grandpa Joe's half risen from his chair, his expression caught between recognition and suspicion. Tom, the veteran, grips his cane a little tighter, his gaze steady but unreadable, like he's been expecting something like this all along. You're probably reeling right now, your mind racing with questions. Who is this guy? Why is Jake so spooked? And how does he tie into the mess Jake's already in? You're not alone. I'm right there with you, feeling the pull of this mystery as it twists into something bigger, messier, and way more intense. Just when we thought we were getting close to understanding why Jake mocked Tom's cane, or what Grandpa Joe was about to say, a secondary storyline is about to crash into the mix, raising the stakes and making you question everyone's motives. Stick with me, because this diner's about to become a pressure cooker, and the truth is slipping further away with every heartbeat. Let's zero in on the newcomer, because his arrival isn't just a plot twist, it's a grenade lobbed into an already volatile situation. His name, you'll soon learn, is Ray, and he's no stranger to this town, though he's been gone so long most folks thought he'd never come back. Ray's in his late 50s, with a face carved by hard living and a voice that carries the gravel of too many cigarettes. He's Daniel's older brother, the same Daniel tied to that old scandal with Joe and the missing war memorial funds, and his sudden return after all these years is sending shockwaves through the diner. Ray doesn't acknowledge Jake directly, but the way his eyes sweep the room, lingering on Joe, then Tom, then Lisa, feels deliberate, like he's taking stock of every player in this game. You can't help but wonder, is Ray here because of Jake's behavior? Does he know about the mysterious text Sarah saw on Jake's phone, the one that said, "Delete it"? No. Or is he tied to Carl, the mechanic who's been hovering around Jake's crew, maybe pulling strings from the shadows? The timing of Ray's entrance, right as Joe was about to confront Jake, feels too convenient, and it's stirring up memories of that old betrayal, making you question whether the past is driving everything happening today. But before we can dwell on Ray, something else happens, something that drags another character into the mystery and complicates everything we thought we knew. Across town, at the same moment Ray steps into the diner, Sarah, Jake's mom, is at home, still rattled from hearing about her son's stunt with Tom's cane. She's pacing the kitchen, her phone buzzing with texts from neighbors filling her in on the diner drama, when she gets a notification that stops her cold. It's a message from an unknown number, just like the one she glimpsed on Jake's phone, but this time it's on her own device. The text is short, chilling. Stay out of it or you'll regret it. Her hands shake as she stares at the screen, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and fury. She tries to reply, to call the number, but it's blocked, and when she refreshes the app, the message is gone, just like Jake's. You're probably feeling that chill down your spine, right? Two identical threats, one to Jake, one to his mom, both vanishing like they were never there. It's no coincidence, and it's raising the stakes sky high, because now it's not just Jake caught in something dangerous. Sarah's a target too. She's tempted to rush to the diner, to drag Jake out and demand answers, but that message has her second-guessing. Who's watching her? Is it Carl, using his connection to Jake to keep Sarah quiet? Is it Lisa, whose history with Sarah and Daniel makes her a wild card? Or is it Ray, whose return feels like the key to unlocking this whole mess? The fact that Sarah's now entangled in the same shadowy threats as Jake suggests this isn't just about a kid acting out. It's about something bigger, something that's got people scared enough to send warnings that disappear into thin air. As if that weren't enough to make your head spin, a new piece of evidence surfaces that throws everything into chaos. Back at the diner, while Ray's presence keeps everyone on edge, Tyler, the quiet one in Jake's crew, accidentally drops his phone as he fidgets nervously. It slides under the table, and when a kid from a nearby booth picks it up to hand it back, the screen lights up with a photo that wasn't meant to be seen. It's a blurry shot of the community center, taken at night, showing a figure spray painting the wall, the same vandalism Jake was rumored to be involved in. The kid gasps, and before Tyler can grab the phone, Lisa's there, snatching it up and pocketing it with a quickness that raises eyebrows. She says she'll hold onto it until Tyler's ready to leave, but her voice is too sharp, her smile too forced. You're probably screaming inside. Is that photo proof Jake did the vandalism? Or is it Tyler, covering for himself by letting Jake take the fall? And why is Lisa so quick to hide the evidence? The photo contradicts the narrative that Jake's the sole troublemaker, because the figure in the image doesn't look like him. It's too tall, too broad, more like Carl or even Ray. This new clue muddies the waters, making you question whether Jake's behavior in the diner is a distraction, a rebellion, or a desperate attempt to cover for someone else. Lisa's involvement only deepens the suspicion, because her history with Daniel and her odd behavior today suggest she's not just a bystander. She's got a stake in keeping certain truths buried. Now, let's talk about motives, because with every new twist, it's getting harder to trust anyone in this story. Ray's return could be about settling old scores, maybe using Jake to get back at Joe for what happened with Daniel. But what if Ray's not the mastermind? What if he's here because he's gotten the same kind of cryptic message as Jake and Sarah, pulling him back to a town he swore he'd never see again? Then there's Tyler, who's looking more suspicious by the minute. His nervous whispers to Jake, his dropped phone with that incriminating photo. It's starting to feel like he's in over his head, maybe working with Carl or Lisa to keep something hidden. And Sarah, poor Sarah, is now caught in the crosshairs, her love for Jake making her a liability to whoever's pulling the strings. Even Tom, the veteran, isn't above suspicion anymore. His calm demeanor could be a front, a way to hide his own connection to the town's past or to Ray's sudden reappearance. You're probably questioning everything now, aren't you? Every glance, every word, every move in this diner feels like it's part of a bigger puzzle, and the stakes are higher than ever because Sarah's safety, Jake's future, and Joe's legacy are all on the line. The diner's a powder keg, and Ray's arrival has lit a fuse that's burning fast. As the tension coils tighter, Joe finally speaks, his voice low but carrying the weight of a man who's had enough. "Jake," he says, and the room holds its breath. "You don't know what you're messing with." It's not a shout, not a lecture, but it's enough to make Jake flinch, his eyes darting to Ray, then to Tyler, then to the door. You can feel the shift, the way Joe's words are about to crack the story wide open, or maybe make it implode. But before he can say more, Ray steps forward, his boots heavy on the floor, and cuts in with a single sentence that sends a shiver through the room. "Some debts don't stay buried, Joe." The diner erupts in whispers. Lisa drops a glass that shatters on the floor, and Jake looks like he's about to bolt. You're hooked, right? You're dying to know what Ray means, what debt he's talking about, and how it ties to Jake's behavior. Sarah's threat, and that photo on Tyler's phone. But here's the twist. As Ray speaks, Sarah bursts through the diner door, her face frantic, her phone clutched in her hand. She's about to say something, to reveal what she's found, when her eyes lock on Ray, and she freezes, like she's seen a ghost. What does Sarah know? And why does Ray's presence stop her dead in her tracks? You've got to keep watching, because this story's just taken a turn that's gonna leave you breathless. The diner is a cauldron of chaos now, with Sarah standing frozen in the doorway, her eyes wide as they lock onto Ray, the grizzled newcomer whose cryptic words about unpaid debts still hang in the air like smoke. Jake's bravado has crumbled, his hands trembling as he grips the edge of the booth, while Grandpa Joe's warning to him, "You don't know what you're messing with," echoes in the stunned silence. Lisa's shattered glass lies in pieces on the floor, a jagged reflection of the tension that's splintering the room, and Tom, the veteran, watches it all with a quiet intensity that makes you wonder what he's holding back. You're probably gripping your phone or leaning closer to the screen, your heart racing as you try to piece together what Sarah's about to say, what Ray's return means, and how it all connects to the threats, the vandalism, and that haunting photo on Tyler's phone. But just when you think this story can't get any heavier, it's about to take a darker turn, one that's gonna make Jake realize he's not just in trouble, he's in real, gut-wrenching danger. You're right here with me, feeling the weight of this small-town mystery as it spirals into something sinister, aren't you? Let's dive deeper, because what happens next is gonna hit you hard, stirring up fear, paranoia, and a flood of questions that'll keep you glued to this video, desperate for answers that are still maddeningly out of reach. Sarah's arrival should have been the moment that clarified things, the spark that forced Jake to explain himself or Joe to lay everything bare, but instead, it's like someone's poured gasoline on an already raging fire. Her face is a mask of panic, her breath ragged as she clutches her phone, the same one that received that chilling threat. "Stay out of it or you'll regret it." She opens her mouth to speak, maybe to call out to Jake or confront Ray, but before a single word escapes, her phone buzzes again, loud enough to make her flinch. She glances at the screen, and whatever she sees drains the color from her face. You can almost feel her heart pounding, the way her hands shake as she shoves the phone into her pocket, her eyes darting around the diner like she's searching for an escape. Jake notices, his own fear mirroring hers, and for the first time, you see something new in him, not just defiance or guilt, but raw, primal terror. He's not just scared of getting caught or embarrassed anymore. He's scared for his life. You're probably wondering, what did Sarah see? Another threat? A photo? Something worse? The way she's acting, it's clear this isn't just about Jake's behavior in the diner or the old scandal with Daniel. It's something immediate, something that's closing in on them both. And then, in a move that makes your stomach drop, Sarah grabs Jake's arm, her voice low and urgent, whispering something that makes him nod quickly, his eyes wide. They're about to bolt, to leave the diner and whatever Ray's stirring up behind, but as they turn toward the door, Tyler, Jake's quiet friend, stands up, his face ashen, and says, "You can't go. Not now." It's the first time Tyler's spoken loud enough for the room to hear, and it's like a thunderclap, stopping Sarah and Jake in their tracks. What does Tyler know? Why is he trying to keep them here? And why does it feel like the walls of this diner are closing in? As the standoff unfolds, Jake's mind is racing, and you can almost crawl inside his head, feel the paranoia clawing at him. Up until now, he's been playing a role, the cocky kid, the rebel who laughs at veterans and shrugs off consequences, but that role's falling apart. The mysterious text he got, the one that vanished from his phone, is burning in his memory. Delete it. Now. He'd thought it was about the vandalism, maybe a warning from Carl or Mike to cover their tracks, but Sarah's reaction and Ray's sudden return are making him question everything. What if the text wasn't about the community center at all? What if it was about something bigger, something tied to the old scandal, to Ray, to Daniel, to secrets his family's been keeping since he was a kid? Jake's always trusted Tyler, the quiet one who never pushed him too far, but now Tyler's words, "You can't go," feel like a trap. He's replaying every moment with his crew, every late-night drive with Carl, every smirk from Mike, wondering who's been playing him, who's been feeding him just enough rope to hang himself. And Sarah, his mom, the one person he's always counted on, is looking at him like she's seeing a stranger, her fear for him mixing with a growing dread that she's missed something crucial. Jake's starting to realize he's not just a kid in over his head. He's a target, caught in a web where every move could be his last. You're feeling that weight, aren't you? The way Jake's world is unraveling, the way every glance in this diner feels like it could be a threat. He's scanning the room now, his eyes landing on Lisa, who's wiping down a counter but watching him too closely, then on Ray, whose silence is louder than any words, and finally on Tom, whose calm is starting to feel like the eye of a storm. Then, the story takes a drastic plunge into darkness, and it's the kind of moment that makes your breath catch. As Sarah pulls Jake toward the door, ignoring Tyler's plea, the diner's lights flicker, just for a second, plunging the room into a heartbeat of darkness. When they snap back on, Mike, Jake's loudmouth friend, is gone. His seat in the booth is empty, his phone left behind, screen still glowing with an unanswered text. The diner erupts in murmurs, everyone looking around, confused, but Jake's reaction is visceral. He freezes, his breath hitching as he stares at the empty spot where Mike was sitting just moments ago. You can feel the panic surging through him, the way his mind spirals into worst-case scenarios. Mike was the one who egged him on, who laughed the loudest when he mocked Tom's cane, who always seemed to know more than he let on. And now he's vanished, without a word, in the middle of this chaos. Did Mike slip out during the flicker, running from something or someone? Was he taken, a warning to Jake and Sarah to back off? Or is Mike playing a deeper game, orchestrating this to throw everyone off his trail? Jake's paranoia is in overdrive now, his thoughts a jumbled mess of fear and betrayal. He's thinking about the photo on Tyler's phone, the one that showed a figure vandalizing the community center, and how it didn't look like him, or Mike. Could Mike have been working with someone else, someone like Ray or Carl, and now he's cut and run? Or worse, is Mike's disappearance a message, a signal that whoever's sending these threats is done playing games? Sarah's clutching Jake's arm tighter, her own fear mirroring his, and you can see it in her eyes. She's not just scared for her son anymore. She's scared for herself, for their family, for whatever truth they're stumbling toward. The emotional weight of this moment is crushing, and Jake's thoughts are a window into the toll it's taking. He's always thought of himself as untouchable, the kid who could talk his way out of anything, but now he's questioning every choice he's made. Every time he followed Carl's lead, every time he ignored Grandpa Joe's advice, every time he let Mike push him further than he wanted to go. He's thinking about his mom, how she's fought for him his whole life, and how his actions are dragging her into danger. He's thinking about Joe, the man who taught him to fish, to fix cars, to be better, and how he's let him down in ways he can't even articulate. And he's thinking about Tom, the veteran he laughed at, wondering if that moment was the spark that lit this fuse, or if it was just one mistake in a chain of them. Jake's not a bad kid, not deep down, but he's starting to see how his need for attention, for validation, has pulled him into something he can't control. He's scared, not just of what's happening, but of who he's becoming. You're right there with him, aren't you? Feeling that mix of sympathy and frustration, wanting him to wake up, to fight back, but knowing the danger's only getting closer. The diner feels like a trap now, every face a potential enemy, every shadow a threat. Ray's still standing there, his eyes locked on Joe, while Lisa's hovering near the counter, her hands busy, but her attention fixed on Jake. Tyler's staring at the floor, like he's afraid to meet anyone's gaze, and Tom's cane taps softly against his chair, a steady rhythm that feels like a countdown. As the urgency builds, Sarah makes a decision. She's not waiting for answers, not here, not now. She pulls Jake toward the door, her voice a fierce whisper. We're leaving. But as they reach the exit, Jake's phone buzzes in his pocket, and he can't help himself. He pulls it out, his hands shaking as he reads the new message from another unknown number. It's just 3 words, but they hit like a punch. You're being watched. His knees buckle, his eyes scanning the diner, the street outside, the faces of everyone around him. Sarah sees the message too, and her gasp is audible, her grip on Jake tightening as she pushes him through the door. But as they step into the cool evening air, the streetlights flickering above them, Jake notices something that makes his blood run cold. A figure across the street, half hidden in the shadows, watching them. It's too dark to see their face, but the way they stand, motionless, deliberate, sends a clear message. This isn't over. Who's following them? Is it Mike, pulling a stunt to scare them? Is it Carl, making sure they don't talk? Or is it someone new, someone tied to Ray, to the past, to the threats that keep vanishing? You're on the edge now, your mind racing with possibilities, because Jake and Sarah are in deeper than ever, and the danger's not just a feeling anymore. It's real, it's close, and it's not letting go. What's waiting for them outside the diner? And what's gonna happen when they realize they can't run from this? You've got to keep watching, because this story's darkest turn is just the beginning. The night air hits Jake and Sarah like a slap as they stumble out of the diner, the door swinging shut behind them, muffling the chaos of whispers, shattered glass, and Ray's ominous presence. Jake's phone is still clutched in his hand, the words, "You're being watched," searing into his mind as he scans the shadowy street, his heart hammering at the sight of that figure across the road, motionless, their face obscured by darkness. Sarah's pulling him forward, her breath ragged, her eyes darting between the figure and the dimly lit parking lot, desperate to get to their car and escape whatever's closing in. You're probably right there with them, your pulse racing, wondering who's watching, what Mike's disappearance means, and how Ray's return ties into the threats that keep vanishing from their phones. The diner was a pressure cooker, but out here, under the flickering streetlights, it feels like the whole world's holding its breath, waiting for the next shoe to drop. You've been hooked on this mystery from the start. Jake's cruel laugh at Tom's cane, Grandpa Joe's looming confrontation, the tangled web of secrets from the past, and now, just when you thought you had a grip on it, a major plot twist is about to rip the rug out from under you, making you question everything you thought you knew about this story, these characters, and the truth at the heart of it all. Stick with me, because this is the kind of game changer that's going to leave your jaw on the floor, and the deeper we go, the more you're going to realize that nothing in this small town is what it seems. Jake's legs feel like lead as he follows Sarah toward the car, his mind a whirlwind of fear and guilt, replaying every moment that led to this, the vandalism rumors, the cryptic texts, Mike's vanishing act, and that figure watching them from the shadows. He's barely processing Sarah's urgent whispers to hurry up when his phone buzzes again, another message from an unknown number, and this time, it's not a threat, it's a photo. His stomach lurches as he opens it, the screen glowing with an image that stops him dead in his tracks. It's him, laughing in the diner, pointing at Tom's cane, captured from an angle that suggests someone was filming from inside the booth, someone sitting right next to him. You're probably feeling that shockwave, right? Because this isn't just a random snap, it's proof that Jake's every move was being recorded, and the only people close enough to take that photo were Mike, Tyler, or maybe Lisa, hovering nearby. But before Jake can show Sarah, the message deletes itself, just like the others, leaving him gasping, his hands shaking as he realizes someone's not just watching, they're documenting, orchestrating, playing a game he doesn't understand. Sarah grabs his arm, demanding to know what's wrong, but before he can answer, a voice cuts through the darkness, low and steady, and it's not the shadowy figure across the street. It's Tom, the veteran, standing just outside the diner door, his cane tapping softly against the pavement. "Jake," he says, his tone calm but laced with something that makes Jake's blood run cold. "You need to stop running and start listening. You can feel the shift, can't you?" Tom, the man Jake mocked, the quiet figure at the center of this storm, is stepping into the spotlight, and what he's about to reveal is going to turn this story upside down. Tom's presence outside the diner is jarring, not just because he's followed them, but because there's a weight to him now, a purpose that wasn't there when he was sitting quietly with his coffee. Jake's always seen him as an old man, a symbol of a generation he doesn't get, but as Tom steps closer, his eyes sharp and unyielding, Jake feels a flicker of something he hasn't felt before, respect mixed with dread. Sarah's confused, her protective instincts kicking in as she pulls Jake back, but Tom raises a hand, not threatening, but commanding, like he's done this before, like he's used to being heard. "You think this is about you, kid," Tom says, his voice steady. "But you're just a piece of a much bigger puzzle." And then comes the bombshell, the twist that rewrites everything. Tom isn't just a random veteran who happened to be in the diner. He's been investigating the town's past, specifically the scandal involving Joe, Daniel, and the missing war memorial funds, because he believes it wasn't just a theft, but a cover-up for something far darker, something that's still active, still pulling strings today. You're probably reeling, your mind racing to connect the dots. Jake's laugh, the threats, Ray's return, Mike's disappearance. All of it suddenly feels like part of a conspiracy that's been buried for years, one that Tom's been quietly unraveling. But here's the kicker. Tom reveals he's been working with someone Jake trusted, someone who's been feeding him information about Jake's crew, and that someone is Tyler, the quiet friend who's been acting nervous, dropping his phone, trying to keep Jake from leaving. Tyler's been playing both sides, watching Jake for Tom, and now Jake's world is crumbling as he realizes the friend he thought had his back has been reporting his every move. This revelation hits Jake like a freight train, and you can feel the betrayal slicing through him, the way it upends everything he thought he knew. Tyler, the one who never pushed him too far, who seemed scared when Mike egged him on, was secretly working with Tom, feeding him details about the vandalism, the late-night meetups with Carl, the plans Jake shared in confidence. Jake's mind flashes back to every moment with Tyler, the whispered conversations, the way Tyler's eyes darted around the diner, the photo of the vandalism on his phone, and it all clicks into place, but it also raises a flood of new questions. Why would Tyler betray him? Is he scared of Tom, or is he part of something bigger? And what's Tom's real goal? Is he trying to protect the town, to expose the truth about the old scandal, or does he have his own agenda, one that's using Jake as a pawn? Sarah's stunned, her hand tightening on Jake's arm as she processes Tom's words, her own fear spiking because she's starting to see how deep this goes, how the thread on her phone might be tied to the same secrets Tom's chasing. Ray's still inside the diner, but his shadow looms large, and you can't help but wonder if he's the key to this darker truth Tom's hinting at. Maybe he didn't just come back to settle scores, but to silence something that's been dormant too long. And Lisa, with her quick hands and suspicious timing, could she be part of this cover-up too, guarding secrets that tie back to Daniel, to Ray, to the past that won't stay buried? The plot twist doesn't just change how Jake sees Tyler or Tom. It forces you to rethink the entire story. What if Jake's laugh at Tom's cane wasn't just a cruel impulse, but a spark that accidentally ignited a powder keg someone's been trying to keep cold? What if the vandalism, the threats, the disappearing messages aren't about Jake's crew at all, but about someone using them to distract from the real mystery, the one Tom's been digging into? You're probably questioning everything now. The crash in the kitchen, Mike's sudden absence, the figure across the street. Is that figure working with Tom, watching to make sure Jake doesn't run? Or are they part of the cover-up, ready to strike if Tom gets too close? Jake's paranoia is your paranoia, his betrayal your shock, because the person he trusted most has flipped the script, and now he's standing in the parking lot, exposed, with Tom's words ringing in his ears and Sarah's fear pulling him in two directions. He wants to run, to hide, but Tom's not done. He steps closer, his cane tapping like a metronome, and says, "There's a reason those messages keep disappearing, Jake. Someone's cleaning up, and you're in their way." Before Jake can respond, a car engine roars to life nearby, headlights blinding them as it peels out of the lot, too fast to see the driver. Sarah screams, pulling Jake back, and Tom's face hardens, like he knows exactly who it was. "You're hooked, aren't you? You're dying to know who's in that car, what Tyler's really hiding, and what Tom's next move is." But the biggest question is burning brightest. What's the truth they're all chasing, and why is it worth killing to keep buried? You've got to keep watching, because this twist is just the start, and the real danger's closing in fast. The roar of the car speeding out of the diner's parking lot still echoes in Jake's ears, its headlights burned into his vision as he stands frozen, Sarah's hand gripping his arm so tightly it hurts. Tom's words, "Someone's cleaning up, and you're in their way," hang heavy in the night air, a warning that feels more like a prophecy with every passing second. The shadowy figure across the street is gone, vanished, as if they were never there, but Jake can still feel their eyes, that suffocating sense of being watched, hunted. Sarah's breathing is shallow, her fear for her son battling with the terror of whatever she saw on her phone, the threat that's now linked to Jake's own disappearing messages and the photo that exposed Tyler's betrayal. You're probably right there with them, your heart pounding as you try to unravel this tangled mess. The cover-up Tom's chasing, Ray's cryptic return, Mike's disappearance, and now this car that tore out of nowhere, leaving them reeling. You've been riding this roller coaster of a mystery since Jake's cruel laugh at Tom's cane sparked it all, and now, just when you thought the stakes couldn't get higher, Jake's about to face impossible choices that'll tear at his soul, forcing him to weigh his safety, his family, and the truth against a danger that's closing in fast. Stick with me, because this is where the story gets raw, emotional, and so intense you'll feel every gut-wrenching moment, and the conflict's about to push Jake to the edge in ways that'll leave you breathless. Tom's still standing there, his cane grounded like an anchor, his eyes locked on Jake with a mix of pity and urgency that makes Jake's stomach twist. Sarah's pulling him toward their car, whispering that they need to get somewhere safe, but Tom's voice cuts through her panic, steady and unyielding. "You can't run from this, Jake," he says, stepping closer, his words carrying the weight of someone who's seen too much to believe in easy escapes. "Whoever's behind those messages, they're not just after you. They're after what you know, what you've seen." Jake's mind is spinning, his thoughts a chaotic swirl of fear, guilt, and confusion. What does he know? He's just a kid who got caught up in dumb stunts, who laughed at a veteran to get a rise out of his friends, who followed Carl's lead because it felt like a way to matter. But Tom's revelation about Tyler, his supposed friend secretly feeding information to Tom about their crew's activities, has shattered any sense of control Jake thought he had. And now, Tom's implying there's something bigger, something Jake stumbled into without realizing, tied to the old scandal with Joe, Daniel, and the war memorial, a truth someone's willing to kill to keep buried. Sarah's voice breaks through, sharp and desperate, telling Tom to back off, that she's not letting her son get dragged into whatever this is, but Tom's next words stop her cold. "They've already got Tyler. If you walk away now, you're leaving him to face this alone." You can feel the air shift, the way Jake's heart lurches at the mention of Tyler, his friend, his betrayer, now in danger because of him. Is Tom telling the truth? Is Tyler really at risk? Or is this a ploy to keep Jake from running? The choice is brutal. Stay and face whatever's coming, or flee and abandon Tyler to a fate Jake can't even imagine. The emotional weight of this moment is crushing, and you can see it in Jake's eyes, the way they flicker with a mix of defiance and dread. He's been reckless, selfish even, chasing clout and attention, but deep down, he's not heartless. Tyler's been his friend since they were kids, the one who'd stay up late playing video games, who'd listen when Jake vented about his dad leaving, who never judged him even when he screwed up. The idea that Tyler's in trouble, maybe because he was working with Tom, maybe because he knows too much, hits Jake like a punch to the gut. He's replaying every moment with Tyler, the nervous glances, the dropped phone with that vandalism photo, the way he tried to stop Jake from leaving the diner. Was Tyler warning him, protecting him, even as he fed Tom information? Or was he setting Jake up, using their friendship to keep him in the crosshairs? Jake's chest tightens as he thinks about his mom, Sarah, who's risked everything to keep him safe, who's now caught in the same web of threats because of his mistakes. He's thinking about Grandpa Joe, still inside the diner, who tried to warn him, who's been fighting his own battles with the past. And he's thinking about himself, how every choice he's made, laughing at Tom, hanging with Carl, ignoring the red flags, has led to this moment where he's standing in a parking lot, staring down a path that could destroy everything he loves. You're feeling that weight, aren't you? The way Jake's torn between fear for himself and loyalty to the people he cares about, the way every option feels like a trap. He wants to be the kid who runs, who hides, but something in Tom's eyes, in Sarah's trembling hands, is forcing him to face the man he could become if he survives this. As if the choice weren't impossible enough, another layer of conflict crashes in, making Jake's decision even more unbearable. His phone buzzes again, And against his better judgment, he checks it, his breath catching as he reads a new message from yet another unknown number. Tell the truth, or your mom pays the price. The words are like ice in his veins, and he instinctively pulls Sarah closer, his eyes scanning the dark street for that shadowy figure, for the car that sped away, for any sign of the danger that's now targeting his family. Sarah sees the message too, her gasp sharp and pained, and for a moment, they're both paralyzed, the ultimatum sinking in. Tell the truth. But what truth? Does it mean confessing to the vandalism, even if Jake's not sure he's guilty? Does it mean exposing Tyler's double-dealing, or digging into the scandal Tom's chasing, the one tied to Joe, Ray, and Daniel? Or is it something else, something Jake doesn't even know he knows, buried in the chaos of his recent actions? The alternative is unthinkable. Sarah's safety, the one person who's always had his back, now hanging in the balance. You're probably screaming inside, right? The stakes are suffocating because Jake's not just choosing between himself and Tyler. He's choosing between his own survival and his mom's life, between staying silent and risking everything, or speaking out and facing a threat he can't even name. Sarah's trying to stay strong, telling Jake they'll figure it out together, but her voice cracks, betraying the fear she's fighting to hide. Tom's watching them, his expression unreadable, and you can't help but wonder if he knows more than he's saying, if his investigation is what's drawn this danger to Jake's doorstep. The conflict escalates further as Jake realizes he can't avoid confronting someone close to him, and the only person who might have answers is inside the diner, Grandpa Joe. Joe's been the rock in Jake's life, the one who taught him right from wrong, but he's also tied to the scandal, to Ray, to the secrets Tom's been chasing. Jake's stomach churns at the thought of facing him, of asking the questions he's been too afraid to voice. What really happened with the war memorial funds? Why did Ray come back? And what does Joe know about the threats, the cover-up, the danger that's now swallowing Jake's world? But going back inside means facing Ray, Lisa, and whatever's left of the chaos they left behind. And it means risking another encounter with whoever's watching, whoever sent that message about Sarah. Jake's mind is a battlefield, his heart torn between the love he has for his grandpa and the growing fear that Joe's been keeping secrets, maybe even using Jake to protect himself. You can feel the emotional depth here, the way Jake's grappling with betrayal, loyalty, and the dawning realization that the people he loves might be part of the very mystery that's threatening to destroy him. Sarah's pleading with him to get in the car, to drive to the police, but Jake's frozen, his eyes locked on the diner door, knowing that stepping back inside could be the point of no return. Tom's voice breaks the silence, soft but piercing. You've got one chance to make this right, Jake. Don't waste it. And then, as if the universe itself is conspiring against him, Jake's phone buzzes again, this time with a video clip just a few seconds long, showing Tyler, his face bruised, his voice shaking as he says, "Jake, I'm sorry." The clip cuts off, and Jake's world tilts, the impossible choice now a razor's edge. Save his mom, save Tyler, or confront Joe and risk everything. You're hooked, aren't you? You're feeling Jake's panic, his heartbreak, his desperation, and you're dying to know what he'll do next. But the diner door's swinging open, and someone's stepping out, their shadow long and menacing, and whatever happens now is going to change everything. The diner door swings open with a slow, ominous creak, and the figure stepping out into the flickering glow of the parking lot lights sends a jolt through Jake's already frayed nerves. It's Ray, his grizzled face set in a hard line, his eyes locking onto Jake and Sarah with an intensity that feels like a physical blow. Jake's clutching his phone, the chilling video of Tyler's bruised face and whispered apology looping in his mind, while Sarah's grip on his arm tightens, her fear for her son now tangled with the terror of the ultimatum burning in his pocket. Tell the truth, or your mom pays the price. Tom's still standing nearby, his cane tapping a steady rhythm against the pavement, his warning about a cover-up and a truth someone's killing to keep buried ringing louder than ever. You're probably on the edge of your seat, your heart racing as you feel the weight of this moment. The threats, the betrayals, the conspiracy that's been unraveling since Jake's cruel laugh at Tom's cane set this chain of events in motion. You've been with me through every twist, every heart-pounding revelation. And now, as we hurtle toward the climax, the true scale of this mystery is about to explode into view, revealing a conspiracy so vast, so sinister, that it's not just about Jake or his family, but the entire town, and someone Jake trusted with his whole heart is about to shatter everything he thought he knew. Buckle up, because this is where the stakes hit fever pitch, the danger closes in, and the emotional toll of this small-town nightmare will leave you breathless, desperate for what comes next. Ray's boots crunch against the gravel as he closes the distance, his presence like a storm cloud swallowing the parking lot. Jake's instincts scream to run, to drag Sarah to the car and floor it, but his legs won't move, pinned by Ray's gaze and the crushing weight of the choices tearing him apart. Save Tyler, protect his mom, or confront Grandpa Joe about the secrets that seem to tie this all together. Sarah's whispering frantically, urging him to go, but Ray's voice cuts through, low and gravelly, carrying a menace that makes Jake's blood run cold. "You're digging in the wrong dirt, kid," Ray says, his words aimed at Jake but his eyes flicking to Tom, then Sarah, like he's measuring everyone's role in this chaos. Before Jake can respond, Ray drops a bombshell that makes the world tilt. This isn't about your little stunts or that old scandal. It's about what's under this town, what's been hidden since before you were born. You can feel the ground shift, right? The conspiracy Tom hinted at, the cover-up tied to the war memorial funds, to Joe, to Daniel, isn't just a local grudge or a theft gone wrong. Ray's words paint a picture of something massive, a secret buried deep in the town's foundation, something worth threatening Sarah, kidnapping Tyler, and silencing anyone who gets too close. Jake's mind races, flashing back to the vandalism, the disappearing messages, the photo of him laughing at Tom, and he's starting to see it. His actions, his crew's reckless antics, were never the point. They were a distraction, a spark to keep eyes off the real truth. But what's under the town? And why is Ray, who's been gone for years, standing here now, acting like he's the gatekeeper of the secret? The scale of the conspiracy comes into sharper focus as Ray keeps talking, his voice a mix of warning and confession, like he's torn between shutting this down and spilling everything. He reveals that the War Memorial Project, the one that tore Joe and Daniel apart, wasn't just a community effort. It was a front, a way to launder money and cover up a deal that went far beyond the town's borders. The memorial's construction site, Ray says, sits on land that holds evidence of something illegal, something tied to powerful people who've been pulling strings for decades, people who don't hesitate to erase anyone who threatens their control. You're probably reeling, your mind racing to connect the dots. Mike's disappearance, Tyler's betrayal, the threats to Jake and Sarah, all orchestrated to keep this secret buried. Jake's heart pounds as he realizes he's not just a kid in trouble. He's stumbled into a machine that's been running since before he was born, one that's now targeting his family because he got too close. Sarah's face is pale, her eyes wide as she processes Ray's words, and you can see the dawning horror that her son's reckless behavior has pulled them into a fight they can't win. But then Ray's tone shifts, and he looks at Jake with something like pity. "You were never the target, kid," he says. "You were the bait." The words hit like a sledgehammer, and Jake's world spins as he grapples with what it means. Someone used him, his laugh at Tom, his crew's stunts, to stir up chaos, to draw attention away from the real players. But who? Carl, the mechanic with ties to Daniel? Lisa, with her suspicious timing? Or someone closer, someone Jake's trusted all along? That's when the betrayal lands, and it's a gut punch that changes everything. As Ray steps back, his eyes flicking toward the diner, the door opens again, and out steps Grandpa Joe, his face etched with a mix of guilt and determination that Jake's never seen before. Joe's been the one constant in Jake's life, the man who taught him to stand tall, to fight for what's right. But now, as he walks toward Jake, Sarah, and Tom, there's a heaviness to him, a truth he's been carrying too long. "I tried to keep you out of this, Jake," Joe says, his voice breaking, and the words are a knife to Jake's heart because they confirm what he's been dreading. Joe's not just tied to the past, he's part of the conspiracy. Joe reveals he knew about the deal under the memorial, knew it was dirty, but stayed silent to protect his family, to keep Sarah and Jake safe from the people who destroy them to guard their secret. He thought he could bury it, thought he could shield Jake by keeping him close, but when Jake started running with Carl, when he laughed at Tom, he unknowingly kicked a hornet's nest, drawing the attention of those who'd do anything to keep the truth hidden. You're probably feeling Jake's world collapse, the way his trust in Joe shatters, leaving him anchorless in a storm of danger and deceit. Sarah's crying now, her hand over her mouth as she realizes her father's been lying to her too, his silence putting them all at risk. Jake wants to scream, to demand why Joe didn't tell him, but the pain in Joe's eyes, regret, love, fear, stops him cold. Joe's been working against them, not out of malice, but out of a desperate need to protect, and now that choice is unraveling everything. The tension is unbearable, the parking lot a crucible where every second feels like it could ignite. Tom's stepping forward now, his cane no longer a prop but a weapon, his voice sharp as he tells Joe it's time to come clean, to expose the names behind the deal, the ones who've taken Tyler, who've threatened Sarah, who've turned Jake into a pawn. But Ray's not done, and his next move escalates the danger to a breaking point. He pulls a USB drive from his pocket, holding it up like a grenade. "This has everything," he says, his voice low. "Names, dates, proof of what's under that land. But if you take it, there's no going back." Jake's heart stops, the choice now a razor's edge. Take the drive and risk everything, his life, Sarah's safety, Tyler's fate, or walk away and let the conspiracy swallow them all. Sarah's begging him to run, to forget the drive, but Jake's eyes are on Joe, on the man who's betrayed him but still loves him, and on Tom, who's fought too long to let this go. You can feel the pressure, the way every choice is a trap, the way the conspiracy's tendrils have wrapped around everyone Jake cares about. And then, from the shadows, a new sound, a car engine, slow and deliberate, creeping closer, its headlights cutting through the dark. Ray tenses, Tom grips his cane, and Joe steps in front of Jake, like he's ready to shield him one last time. You're hooked, right? You're feeling Jake's terror, his heartbreak, his resolve, and you're desperate to know who's in that car, what's on that drive, and whether Jake can survive the truth. The climax is here, and it's a wildfire, but the final blow is still coming, and you've got to keep watching to see who falls. The air in the diner's parking lot is thick with dread, the slow growl of the approaching car's engine cutting through the night like a predator closing in on its prey. Jake's heart is a hammer in his chest, his eyes darting between Ray, who's gripping the USB drive that holds the truth about the town's buried secret, and Grandpa Joe, whose confession of complicity in the decades-old conspiracy has shattered Jake's trust. Sarah's clinging to him, her voice a desperate whisper urging him to run, to leave the drive and the danger behind. But Tom's unyielding presence, his cane planted like a challenge, keeps Jake rooted, torn between saving his mom, rescuing Tyler, and facing the truth that's cost so much already. The headlights of the car creep closer, bathing the group in a harsh glow, and you're probably right there with them, your pulse racing as every thread of this mystery, Jake's cruel laugh at Tom's cane, the vanishing threats, Tyler's betrayal, Ray's return, and the conspiracy under the town, converges in this electrified moment. You've been hooked since the diner went silent, since Joe stood to confront Jake, and now, as the climax explodes, the stakes are life or death, the tension unbearable, and a final twist is lurking, ready to flip everything you thought you knew. Hold on tight, because this showdown is going to be a gut-wrenching, unforgettable battle, and the truth will come at a cost that'll leave you reeling. The car stops just feet away, its engine idling with a menacing hum, and the driver's door swings open, revealing a figure that makes Jake's breath catch, Lisa, the diner's assistant manager, her usual tight smile replaced by a cold, calculated stare. You can feel the shockwave, the way this revelation rewrites every moment she was in the background, wiping counters, snatching Tyler's phone, orchestrating the kitchen crash that derailed Joe's confrontation. Lisa's not just a bystander. She's the linchpin, the one who's been pulling strings, sending threats, and keeping the conspiracy's secret safe. Ray's hand tightens on the USB drive, his eyes narrowing as he recognizes her, and Tom steps forward, his voice sharp with accusation. "You've been cleaning up for them all along, haven't you?" Lisa doesn't flinch, her gaze sweeping over Jake, Sarah, Joe, and Tom like she's sizing up obstacles. She reveals the chilling truth. The land under the war memorial hides evidence of a decades-old smuggling operation, one that funneled drugs and money through the town, orchestrated by a network of powerful figures who used the memorial project as a cover. Lisa's family was part of it, tied to Daniel, and when Joe and Daniel's fallout exposed cracks in the operation, Lisa took it upon herself to protect the secret, silencing anyone who got too close. You're probably reeling, right? Jake's laugh at Tom's cane, his crew's vandalism, were just sparks she fanned into flames, distractions to keep Tom's investigation and Ray's return from uncovering the truth. Tyler's kidnapping, Mike's disappearance, the threats to Jake and Sarah, all her doing, all to keep the USB drive's contents buried. Jake's mind is spinning, the betrayal cutting deeper because Lisa was always there, serving coffee, smiling, someone he never suspected, and now she's the villain standing between him and survival. The confrontation erupts into a psychological battlefield, every word a weapon as Lisa lays out an ultimatum that makes Jake's blood run cold. She steps closer, her voice low and venomous, offering a deal. Hand over the USB drive. Walk away, and she'll let Tyler go, let Sarah live, let Jake escape with his life. Refuse, and she promises the network she works for will burn everything he loves to the ground, starting with his mom. Sarah's sobbing now, begging Jake to take the deal, to save them, but Joe's voice cuts through, heavy with regret. Don't do it, Jake. That drive's the only thing that can stop them. Tom's nodding, his cane raised like a sword, urging Jake to fight, to expose the truth, but Ray's silent, his eyes haunted, like he knows the cost of defiance. Jake's torn, his heart splintering under the weight of the choice. Give up the drive and betray the town, Tyler and Joe's redemption, or risk his mom's life for a truth that might destroy them all. You can feel his anguish, the way every memory of Sarah's sacrifices, Joe's lessons, Tyler's friendship, crashes into the fear of losing everything. He's not the cocky kid who laughed at Tom anymore. He's a young man staring down a nightmare, forced to decide who he is in this moment. The tension is suffocating, the car's headlights pinning them like a spotlight, and Lisa's patience is thinning, her hand slipping into her pocket, hinting at a weapon that makes Sarah gasp. Jake's eyes lock on the USB drive in Ray's hand, and you're probably screaming inside, wondering what he'll do, whether he'll fold or fight, and how this can possibly end without blood. Then, in a heartbeat, the battle turns physical, and the intensity skyrockets. Jake, driven by a surge of desperation and rage, lunges for Lisa. Not for the drive, but to stop her, to buy time, to do something. She's faster, pulling a knife from her pocket, the blade glinting as she swings at him, but Tom's there, his cane cracking against her wrist with a force that belies his age, sending the knife skittering across the pavement. Sarah screams, pulling Jake back, while Ray dives for the knife, his movements frantic, like he's fighting for his own redemption. The parking lot becomes a chaotic blur, shouts and scuffles under the harsh glow of the headlights, and you can feel the raw emotion. Jake's fear for his mom, Joe's guilt fueling his resolve, Tom's determination to end this decades-long lie. Lisa's not done, though. She's scrambling, clawing for control, and in the chaos, she grabs Sarah, using her as a shield, her voice a snarl. Give me the drive, or she's dead. Jake freezes, his world narrowing to his mom's terrified eyes, and you're right there with him, feeling the impossible weight of this moment, the way every choice is a wound. Joe steps forward, his hands raised, offering himself in Sarah's place, his voice breaking as he pleads with Lisa to let his daughter go. It's a father's sacrifice, a grandfather's love, and it's tearing Jake apart because he knows this is his fault, his actions that lit this fuse. Ray's holding the drive, his face a mask of conflict, and Tom's shouting for Jake to make a move, to end this, but Lisa's grip on Sarah tightens, and the standoff feels like it's seconds from exploding. And then, the final twist hits, a shock that flips the entire story on its head. As Lisa's eyes burn with desperation, a voice calls out from the darkness, weak but unmistakable, Tyler, staggering into the light, his face bruised, his hands bound, but alive. You're probably gasping because Tyler's not just a victim. He's holding a phone, its screen glowing with a live feed, broadcasting everything to the internet, to the town, to the world. He's been streaming the confrontation, the conspiracy, Lisa's confession, all of it, from a hidden device he rigged before Lisa's men grabbed him. The network secret, the truth about the smuggling, the names on the USB drive, it's all out, exposed to thousands watching online, and Lisa's face drains of color as she realizes she's lost control. Jake stunned, his betrayal by Tyler now a complicated mix of gratitude and pain, because Tyler's risked everything to blow this wide open, to save them all. But the victory is bittersweet. Lisa, cornered, shoves Sarah away and bolts for the car, slamming the door and peeling out, leaving chaos in her wake. Jake catches Sarah as she stumbles, holding her tight, while Joe collapses to his knees, tears streaming down his face, his guilt and relief crashing together. Tom's breathing hard, his cane trembling in his hand, and Ray's staring at the USB drive, like it's a relic of a war he never wanted to fight. You're hooked, aren't you? You're feeling Jake's relief, his heartbreak, his fury, and you're reeling from Tyler's twist, the way it turned the tide but left so much unresolved. Lisa's gone, but the network's still out there. The truth is public, and Jake's life will never be the same. What happens next? You've got to keep watching because this climax is just the beginning of the fallout. The dust from Lisa's fleeing car still hangs in the air of the diner's parking lot, the screech of her tires fading into the night as Jake holds Sarah tightly, her trembling body a reminder of how close they came to losing everything. Grandpa Joe is on his knees, his face wet with tears, the weight of his decades-long silence, and the pain of nearly sacrificing his family for it crushing him in a way that makes Jake's heart ache. Tom stands resolute, his cane steady now, his eyes scanning the darkness as if expecting the conspiracy's next move, while Ray clutches the USB drive, its contents, the names, dates, and proof of the smuggling operation under the war memorial, now irrelevant in the face of Tyler's live stream, which exposed the truth to the world. Tyler, bruised and battered, leans against a lamppost, his phone still in hand, the glow of the screen a testament to his reckless, redemptive act that turned the tide. You're probably still reeling from the climax, your emotions tangled in Jake's fear, Sarah's relief, and the shock of Lisa's betrayal, not to mention Tyler's unexpected broadcast that flipped the story on its head. You've been with me through every pulse-pounding moment of this mystery, from Jake's cruel laugh at Tom's cane to the unraveling of a conspiracy that shook a small town to its core. And now, as we reach the resolution, it's time to tie up the loose ends, to find closure for Jake, his family, and the truth they fought for, while leaving you with a lingering sense of wonder, a reflection on what it all means, and a final twist that'll stay with you long after the screen goes dark. Let's bring this story home, because this is where the heart of it all comes together, and it's gonna hit you in ways you won't forget. The immediate aftermath is a blur of raw emotion and fragile hope as Jake and Sarah cling to each other, their shared terror giving way to a quiet, desperate gratitude for being alive, for being together. Joe rises slowly, his hands shaking as he reaches for Jake, his voice thick with remorse as he apologizes, not just for his silence about the smuggling operation, but for letting Jake drift so far, for not seeing how his own secrets pushed his grandson toward the reckless choices that sparked this nightmare. Jake's anger at Joe's betrayal is still there, a dull ache beneath his relief, but as he looks into his grandfather's eyes, he sees the love that's always been there, the same love that made Joe step in front of him when Lisa's knife gleamed. It's a moment of reconciliation, not perfect, but real, and you can feel the weight of it, the way Jake's learning that forgiveness doesn't erase pain but builds a bridge over it. Sarah's part of that bridge, her strength holding them together as she wipes her tears and tells Jake they'll face whatever comes next as a family. Tom, ever the anchor, steps in to ground the moment, revealing he's already contacted a trusted contact at the state police, ensuring the USB drive's data and Tyler's stream reach the right hands. The conspiracy's exposed, Lisa's on the run, and the network behind the smuggling is scrambling, their power crumbling as the town and the world watches the truth unfold online. You're probably feeling that rush of justice, right? The satisfaction of seeing the bad guys lose, but also the bittersweet reality that victory came at a cost, trust broken, lives endangered, and a town forever changed by what's been unearthed. Tyler's role in the resolution is where the emotional depth cuts deepest, because his betrayal and redemption are two sides of a coin Jake's still trying to understand. As the police sirens wail in the distance, signaling the beginning of the end for Lisa's network, Tyler limps toward Jake, his eyes downcast, his voice hoarse as he explains why he worked with Tom. He'd stumbled onto the conspiracy months ago, overhearing Carl and Lisa talking about keeping the land quiet, and when he tried to dig deeper, he got scared. Scared for his family, scared for Jake, scared of the threats that started coming his way. Tom found him, offered protection in exchange for information, and Tyler, torn between loyalty and survival, became the reluctant double agent, feeding Tom details about Jake's crew while trying to keep Jake out of the worst of it. The bruises on his face, the video Jake saw, were real. Lisa's men had grabbed him to shut him up, but Tyler's quick thinking with a live stream turned his capture into the conspiracy's undoing. Jake's emotions are a storm: anger at Tyler's secrecy, gratitude for his sacrifice, and a lingering hurt that their friendship will never be the same. You can feel that tension, the way Jake wants to hug Tyler and push him away at the same time, and when they finally clasp hands, it's not a full resolution but a promise to rebuild, to find a way forward. Tyler's stream has gone viral, trending across YouTube and X, with hashtags like #SmallTownSecrets and #ExposeTheTruth lighting up feeds, making him a reluctant hero and Jake a symbol of redemption, a kid who stumbled but stood up when it mattered most. The town itself becomes a character in this resolution, its wounds and resilience laid bare as the truth ripples out. The war memorial, once a symbol of pride, is now a scar, its foundation slated for excavation as authorities move in to uncover the smuggling evidence. Locals gather at the diner in the days that follow, their conversations a mix of shock, anger, and a strange kind of hope, because the exposure of the conspiracy has forced them to face their past, to rebuild trust in each other. Ray, who'd returned to settle scores, decides to stay, working with Tom to ensure the USB drive's data brings down every name involved, a quiet atonement for his own role in the scandal years ago. Mike, it turns out, wasn't kidnapped. He'd run, scared off by Lisa's threats, and is found hiding at a cousin's house, his bravado gone, his role in pushing Jake to mock Tom a regret he'll carry for years. Lisa's captured a state away, her network unraveling as the live stream's evidence leads to arrests, but her cold stare in the news footage leaves a chill, a reminder that some secrets might still be out there, waiting. Jake, Sarah, and Joe return to their lives, scarred but stronger, with Jake taking the first steps toward making amends, starting with a visit to Tom, where he apologizes, not just for the laugh, but for not seeing the man behind the cane. Tom's response is simple, a nod and a handshake, but it's enough, a moment of grace that you can feel in your bones, a reminder that respect can be rebuilt, even after it's been broken. Yet, as the story closes, a final, open-ended twist lingers, leaving you with something to ponder. A week later, as Jake sits in his room, scrolling through the viral posts about the conspiracy, he gets a notification, a direct message from an anonymous account, no profile picture, just a single line. You think it's over, but it's not. His heart skips, his fingers hovering over the screen as he stares at the words, the same kind of cryptic threat that started this nightmare. Is it a prank, a remnant of Lisa's network, or something new, a shadow waiting to rise? He doesn't tell Sarah or Joe, not yet, choosing instead to hold the secret close, to carry the weight himself, a sign of the man he's becoming. You're probably feeling that mix of closure and unease, right? The conspiracy's exposed, Jake's found a path to redemption, and his family's healing, but that message hints at a world still turning, a mystery that might not be fully solved. The story ends with Jake looking out his window at the town he's always known, its lights twinkling under a starry sky, and you can sense his resolve, his fear, his hope, all wrapped into one. It's a resolution that answers the big questions: why Jake laughed, who was behind the threats, what the conspiracy hid, but leaves you reflecting on the cost of truth, the fragility of trust, and the shadows that linger in even the smallest towns. You'll carry this story with you, won't you? The way it made you feel Jake's struggle, Sarah's love, Joe's regret, and the power of standing up, even when it hurts. And that final message? It's a whisper, a challenge, a reason to keep wondering what's next.